folks, and welcome back to another Wise Game video. In today's video, we're going to have a discussion. I'm going to show you a little video segment of a Q&A that they had with Ian, the head game designer for World of Warcraft Battle For Azeroth 8.1. And one of the players did write in and ask him the question, and he did address it and answer it, about how about BFA when it comes to having PvP vendors put back into the game, so that we have another avenue in another way, an incentive to actually gearing up for PvP, which I know has been a discussion for a very long time, ever since Legions came out. So he did address it, and he did come up with a few ideas and a pretty good suggestion, or actually an implement that they're adding to the game, I guess. I haven't played in about a week because I've been rather busy, and I did lose some incentive to play in the game league, and it's mainly because of this subject. So let me explain, just so you have a more clear understanding, is that I was playing mainly PvP this time around in Battle For Azeroth. So that was my main way of actually gearing up my characters. I actually got to the point where I felt like without the PvP vendors, I was still kind of strapped. Okay, BFA is definitely a step forward compared to Legions, because they did add the conquest point system back to the game, which is good. So, but basically we're still stuck of what the game actually predetermines and gives us gear-wise each time we actually cap these points. So basically, once you cap them, you either go to the vendor, the NPC, hand in those conquest points, and he's going to give you a piece of gear. And the same with the box. If you actually cap those conquest points in that week, then you can also open up the box, the strong box, and inside of that will be another piece of gear for you. But I started getting duplicates already. I started getting gears that were actually lower item level wise than the gears I have now. And I'm like, gee, I just put in all this time and effort into getting these conquest points, and the outcome in the reward system is not giving me back what I expected. And I'm not even that highly geared, so I can imagine what 370 players are going through plus. So that's what he kind of discusses in this video. So instead of me explaining his feelings and his ideas, I figured I'd just cut out that little section from the Q&A and embed it into this video, and we'll give it a look. So comment below on your feelings and your thoughts of Battle For Azeroth PvP vendors for World of Warcraft.
Okay. Let's move on. A question comes from Felrin, who says, can PvP please get some sort of vendor? It feels like we're forced to PvE in order to PvP due to how important stats are again and how bad PvP drops are. So this has been a super popular question. PvP vendors, what are our thoughts there?
Okay, so the reason why we have some of the problems with vendors, I think, are there's a certain level of obscurity. PvP, you get this currency, you get these points, you get these badges, whatever they are, and there's a place you have to go in the world to spend them. It's not clear for someone who's looking to get into PvP exactly what these are meant for, what you're supposed to do with them, and in practice, the way that system unfolded in the past was there was generally an order that you'd purchase your gear in. And we had things like rating requirements and total conquest requirements earned for the season to stop people from just buying their weapon first, because otherwise that would be the obvious right answer, and everyone would be running around like a glass cannon with a great weapon and weak armor and so forth. But we understand the value of the vendor is a feeling of control, a feeling that you can determine the path that you're going to gear your character in and what you're going to seek out when. The system that we're pursuing is recreating and trying to deliver all of those upsides, really, through a system that's a bit more transparent and just offers the rewards up front in the UI. There are some significant improvements we feel like we've made in Season 2 compared to the first season. I think major complaints that we heard with the way the conquest schedule worked were, one, that there wasn't sufficient choice of Azerite pieces. Now when you unlock an Azerite quest reward from a given week of conquest progression, you'll have a choice of, I believe, 4 distinct pieces for that slot. Yeah. And with the new 5-ring armor, you're basically going to see every possible trait that your class can have represented somewhere there. So if there's a specific trait you're chasing, you can get that for sure. Similarly, when it's a non-weapon or trinket week, when it's, let's say pants or gloves or boots, we will offer you a choice of 4 different items. Let's say 2 bracers and 2 pairs of pants with different stats on them and different slots. So if you happen to have a great pair of pants that you got from some other source or Lucky Warforged or whatever, don't get the pants, get the other slot instead. And if you're looking for a specific stat, get that stat. And then that's combined with the trophies that you can use to upgrade your gear to the appropriate rating. Every week of Conquest will also give you Quartermaster coins that give you a steady sense of progress towards earning those trophies. So ultimately, over the course of earning your Conquest points in a season, just as you could when there were vendors, you should be able to handpick the pieces that you want for given slots and have the ability to upgrade those in the long term to the appropriate item level for the rank that you're playing at. And so ultimately, is that better than a vendor? It's different than a vendor, right? There's certainly more control if there's just everything that's out there on a vendor and you can go buy it. One difference between the way PvP gear works now and the way it did back in the day is that now it's actually competing with the rest of our reward systems. When we had PvP vendors, we had stats like resilience and PvP power on that armor, which made it irrelevant and clearly not the correct choice for a raider to use or for someone who's trying to do other types of content. Whereas now, it's all a single unified system. We think there's upsides there. It reduces the barriers to entry to PvP. If you want to get into PvP for the first time, you can take the gear that you've used from other parts of the game and just jump in and have fun as you learn the ropes. But one of the downsides to it is we do need to take the rest of the game into account in a fuller sense as we're designing the reward systems, because there isn't a raid vendor where you can just go buy all your raid loot. And we're trying to balance the desirability and attractiveness of those systems on the spectrum of rate of loot attainability and control. The PvP system actually probably offers by far the most control over getting the exact rewards that you want when you compare it to other endgame activities like Mythic Plus or endgame rating.
Okay. Yeah, I've just been thinking back through all the different ways that PvP gearing has worked in the past, and I think the point you made about it all being sort of tied into the same general, like it rewards a rewards thing, is actually super important in a universe now. Like we've got world quests that you need to go out and do. Something like the dual eye level system that we had in Warlords would be really, really weird for that, because like sure, if someone attacks you, all of a sudden you gain like 80 item levels and you're way better. But yeah, so there are definitely downsides to the way the system has always had to work in the past. Hopefully we can get things to a point where everyone feels satisfied.
Yeah, and that's the goal. And I think, and if the question mentioned stats, if there are stats that are such outliers, especially in PvP, like if you feel like Mastery is so incredibly dominant that any piece that doesn't have Mastery is useless to you, and some of the Conquest schedule rewards don't have Mastery on them, that's a problem we can attack from two different angles. One, by looking at the rewards themselves, but on the other hand, regardless of the context, whether it's raiding or whether it's arena, there shouldn't be such large disparities in our stats where some stats are effectively dead and some are mandatory. And so that's a problem we can attack from the class balance angle as well.
Yeah, I guess a good question to pose in terms of feedback would be, what choices do you feel you don't have in the current system?
Exactly that.
So cool. That would be great to see.